John 18:30. Apokritheson kai epon auto. Me ein hutas kakon poion, uk an soi paradokamen auton. I'll remind you that right before this, Pilate has asked these Jewish officials who's come from the house of Caiaphas with Jesus, what charge are you bringing against this man? And so the Jewish officials respond. They answered and said to him, and at this point we have a second-class conditional sentence. Second-class conditional sentence is a contrary to fact. So in English we would render that, if this had happened, then this would have happened, or something like that. And so how do you know it's a second-class conditional sentence? Well, you have an A in the first part, and you have an on in the second part. Occasionally you'll have a second-class conditional sentence without the on in the second part, but it's usually there. And so we just have to render that in English as we would a contrary to fact sentence. So I'm going to go real slow here, very woodenly. So if this one were not a doer of evil, right? That's our protasis. Or if this had been, and you know, if this man were not a doer of evil, this is the Jewish authorities speaking here, and they're saying, and they're affirming, well, he is a doer of evil from their perspective. If this man were not a doer of evil, we would not have handed him to you. We would have not handed him over to you. Well, we could do a little bit of parsing here before we run out of time. Perhaps we'll look at this word paradokamen. Now, what should help you with that? Whenever you see a da or do and you don't know what it's coming from, it's probably coming from didomi. Indeed, this is from didomi. It's from a compound form of didomi, paradidomi, to hand over to. And you can see we've reduced down to our da or do stem. You have a kappa. You may think, oh, that's perfect. But with me verbs, the kappa is often a mark of the aorist. You say, well, how do I know if it's an aorist or a perfect? With the perfect, we would expect reduplication, dedoka, right? But here we just have an augment. So this is an aorist active indicative, and that's a first person plural. Without any context, we would just translate this, we handed over. But here in the contrary to fact sentence, we would not have handed him over.